Hi there, I'm Diane and welcome to my YouTube channel Diane Makes. And today I'm going to show you how to adjust the pattern for this dress form. The pattern I got from bootstrapsfashion.com, and it's a custom made pattern where I take measurements, my body measurements, enter it on their website, and then they send me a PDF version, and then I was able to make this. So this is Marley. I made Marley spring of 2019, and I really enjoyed making this dress form. This is the third version. I made two and I modified some things, and then I made the third one. So fast forward to now, I'm going to make another one today, just simply because during COVID I gained a few pounds, and this one is a little small in this area right now, and I don't want to pad this up. I like it when I'm not padding it and it's just actual the fabric, so that I can use it for draping. So I'm going to make one today, but before I make the actual dress form, I'm going to modify the pattern, because on my body the dress form has my bust measurements, under bust, waist and hips, and those usually fit. But where it doesn't fit me and I need to modify is from my neck point, or from my shoulder point to my apex. The pattern is a little too long, and the torso part of the dress form, so from my waist to my neck point right here, the center of my neck point, it's a little over an inch too long. And because even though I'm tall, my body, my torso is a more petite size, and this dress form pattern has some standard sizing in it, and that's why I need to change a few things on here. And I'm going to show you how I modified the dress form so that it fits more of my body shape, and I'm going to show you how to do that. I've put the pattern pieces on Marley here, and I'm going to show you where I'm going to make the adjustments. So the first adjustment I'm going to make is to this piece right here, this front piece, front and side piece. And the reason for that is on the dress form here, when I measure from the shoulder to my apex, my shoulder to my apex is actually 10 inches on me, but on Marley here, on the seam line, when I measure the seam line, it is actually 11 inches. So it's 1 inch too long from the shoulder to my apex. So I have to get rid of 1 inch in here and 1 inch in here. So when I reduce this by 1 inch, I'm going to do it where I don't want to do it down here, because there's lots of shaping down here for the bust. So I don't want to interfere with that. So I'm going to decrease 1 inch up here and 1 inch here. When I decrease 1 inch, I'm going to lower the armhole by 1 inch as well, because I don't want to get rid of the armhole size, because my armhole is the same as this one, so I don't want to change that. So I'm going to reduce 1 inch here, 1 inch, lower the armhole by 1 inch as well. My actual neckline, or the circumference of my neck, is actually 13 inches long, around. And Marley here is, or the pattern, when I measure the seam line of the front and the back, and I times it by 2, I add the 2 up and I multiply by 2, I actually have 13 1/4. So I have 1/4 of an inch too wide in the neck, and when I'm draping, that's 1/4 of an inch is a lot. So I'm going to take away 1/4 of an inch by, I'm going to just decrease the shoulder point right here, the neck point right here at the top. I'm going to decrease that by 1/8. The reason why 1/8 is because if I decrease this side by 1/8, and when I cut the pattern on the other side, that's 1/8, so that makes 1/4. So I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm going to just shave a little bit off there for that part so that it fits around my neck. And then the next part I'm going to adjust is when I measure from my center neck front to my waist, it is actually 14.5 inches long. But on Marley, when I measure Marley here, it's actually 15 7/8 inches long. So that's 1 inch and 3/8, 1 3/8 inch too long from my neck to my waist. But I've I'm going to decrease 1 inch here, so I'm getting rid of an inch already, so I still have to get rid of 3/8 of an inch. So this is the waist point right here, the waistline. So I'm going to just decrease, oh sorry, this is the waistline right here, and this is the under bust. So I'm going to decrease above the waistline 3/8 of an inch on this pattern and this pattern. So number 6 and number 5. I'm going to show you how to do that as well, above the waist. That way, when I'm draping clothes, the waist is exactly where it needs to be so that it fits on me. Right now, it's an inch too low, and the apex is also too low that when I make clothes on it, it's not going to fit right, and I'll be doing adjustments all the time. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to show you how to do that. So when I make an adjustment to the front 2 pieces and the lower pieces, I'm not going to adjust anything with the cuts because that fits perfectly. I'm going to take an inch off the top here as well on this piece and this piece. And right above the waistline, I'm going to take 3/8 of an inch off here and 3/8 of an inch off here. I'm going to show you how to do that. After I made adjustments on these, on the pattern pieces, next I'm going to, using my new measurements here, I'm going to adjust the inner stabilizing patterns as well for the inside of the dress form, the support. So to make the pattern adjustments, you'll need Scotch tape, scissors, and a ruler to measure, and a curved ruler. If you have one, if you don't have one, that's fine too, but this is what I'm going to use. Okay, so we're going to take 1 inch off of here and here. So right now, from my shoulder point to my apex, it measures 11 inches, but on my the pattern measures 11 inches, but on my actual body, it's actually 10 inches. So I'm going to get rid of an inch. So I don't want to make any adjustments in this area right here because that's where I get my shaping for my bust. So I don't want to change this at all. So I'm going to go to where there's less curvage at the top here. So that's where I'm going to do that. Now I'm going to mark this 1 inch, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this piece right here. But before you cut this, what I did was I made an extra copy just in case I mess it up, and this is my original version here, so I made a photocopy here. So if I need to refer to it and go back, I have this to go back to. So make sure you make an extra copy. Now I'm going to make a line here, 1 inch line. And what I'm going to do is, this part right here is very straight, and right here is straight as well. Set it at 90 degrees. I'm going to just turn it upside down. Make sure the line is 90 degrees right here. The seam line is 90 degrees. And I'm just going to draw a line all the way across. So this line is 90 degrees to the seam line here. Now I'm going to measure 1 inch. So I'm going to line up the line I just made with the 1 inch point here. There. So I'm going to cut this, and I'm going to retape it. Doesn't matter, you can either cut here or there, it doesn't really matter. Now I'm going to move this up and line it up on that line there. Excellent. Very nice. So because I made the adjustment where there isn't much shaping, I really don't even have to clean up the lines here. But if I had done it way down here, I would have had to make a big adjustment to match up the curves there. Next, I'm going to lower this armhole by 1 inch, because I don't want the armhole to change. The armhole is actually the same measurement as mine, so I don't want, so if I left it the way it is, it would be too small. So I'm going to lower, and I'm just going to measure from this point right here down 1 inch. I'm just lining up the 1 inch line here. There. Now, the shaping right here, I really like that shaping. So I'm going to just lay this on here, and I'm going to go to the window, and I'm going to redraw the shape onto this pattern here. I might have to just kind of clean up a couple of parts. So I'm going to put it on the window. I'm going to draw this line on here. I'll be right back. So I've gone to the window and matched up these 2 points, right, the points at the top, and matched up this line, the 1 inch line we made, to the end right here underneath. I just matched that up right there. And then I just drew the seam line from underneath the edge of the pattern. I drew the edge of the pattern, and then I drew the seam line and just matched it up here. Now, on this one that we adjusted, this point, we don't want this point anymore, so I'm just going to exit out, and this is the new point. I'm going to put a check mark there. So this is the one I'm going to record when I am cutting the pattern. This is the marking I'm going to make. Okay, so now that I've done the adjustment, I just want to make a note that this is the one that I did the adjustment on. Adjusted 1 inch decrease, and then I finished it, so I'm just going to put finished. Sometimes if I don't write it down, I forget what I've done, and then I get all confused. Okay, so this is finished. I'm going to put this away. Now I'm going to cut this. Now I'm going to decrease the upper center front by 1 inch up here. It's pretty much parallel here, so when I make the adjustments, I won't need to clean up anything. I'll probably just match up. So I'm going to measure 1 inch. I'm going to put my ruler up here, and I'm going to make sure it's 90 degrees from the center front. I'm going to turn it over so that I can see better, closer to me. There, so I'm just matching up. Doesn't matter any one of these lines, just match it up, make sure it's 90 degrees. Draw a line, and then move this over. Now I'm going to flip it up. I drew our line there. Now I'm going to match up the 1 inch line there. Okay, doesn't matter where you cut, doesn't matter which one you cut. I think I'll cut okay, so this adjustment is finished, this part. I'm going to decrease the neckline on this one pattern 1/8. So when I cut the actual pattern on the fabric, it's going to work out to be 1/4 of an inch decrease, which is what we want, because my neck is 13 inches around and the pattern neckline is 13.25 or 13 1/4 inch. So I got to get rid of 1/4 of an inch. So So that means I'm going to lower this by 1/8. Just going to mark a 1/8 line right there. That's where the 1/8 is. Now this one, and I don't want to change this length right here is good. So I'm just going to go from 0 here, and I'm just going to match up that line. That's all I'm going to do. It's just the 1/8 of an inch, so it shouldn't make much of a difference. Keep my seam line here. That's my sewing line, so I'm going to sew on that, and I'm just going to lower this part right here by 1/8 as well. This is 1/8 right there, and I'm going to go to 0 right there. This is the seam line, and that's the cut line. Okay, the upper part is done. So this is the front, lower side, and front center. This is the center of the front here, and that's where the bust is. My hip, waist, and under bust. So I'm going to adjust in between right here by 3/8 of an inch. I'm going to shorten it. I'm just going to, just straightforward, I'm just going to lift up from the waist. I think I'll cut 1/2 inch above the waist. First, I'll draw a line 1/2 inch above the waist. I'm going to parallel this. I'm just going to match up the waistline, 1/2 inch. And then from this 1/2 inch, I'm going to measure 3/8 of an inch. So that's 1, 2, 3 right there. There. This right here is 3/8 of an inch. I'm going to do the same here. The waistline. This is on the lower side, number 6, lower side front. First, I'm going to measure 1/2 inch above the waist. This one is a little curved, as you can see. It goes up a little bit. So I'm going to, the curve starts about here, so I'm going to go 1/2 inch here, and then half inch. Just going to move the ruler as the curve changes. There you go. Now from there, I'm going to measure 3/8 of an inch. 1, 2, 3. Whoops. 1, 2, 3. 3/8. 1, 2, 3/8. Right up to here, and then it curves up a little bit. So I'm going to cut the lower side number 6 piece, pattern piece. And then we're going to slide it up to match the other line that we made. Just line up the seam line. So the line going from this point right here, the grain line. So we're just going to get rid of this grain line right here, and I'm going to redraw. Okay. There, that piece is done, and we don't have to really, I can just give this a little trim, I guess, just to even it up there. Okay, there, that's done. This is finished. Okay, I'll do the same here. I'm going to cut the lower piece and then move it up to match the top line there. I'll cut the lower line. So this is the center front, so it's a good idea to keep it as straight as possible here. Looks good. I'm just going to true this up. It's got a little bit of a ledge there. I'm just going to just trim it. Not much there, so. People are always asking why I wear rubber latex gloves. I'm in Canada here and it's dry weather and I'm handling paper and fabric all the time. My hands dry out and they crack right by my fingernails here. I did find some really nice cream that helps a lot. I just recently found it. This cream right here, Uncle Mike's All Natural Healing Salve. Boy, this works really well. I love using this. I use it on my dry feet as well and it makes my feet nice and moisturized. Okay, so that's why I wear latex gloves, because my hands get dry, my skin. Okay, this is done. Now, I'm going to do the back piece. Okay, I made a copy here. I made a photocopy of this section right there because I'm going to need this later. I'm going to put this off to the side. Now I'm going to draw a 1-inch line here. 2 lines 1 inch apart here as well. And then a line above the waistline here. 3/8 of an inch, 1/2 inch. First I'm going to draw a line 1/2 inch above the waistline, and then from that line 3/8 of an inch another line. So I'll do that to these 2 pieces here. So here it looks like right about here it looks like a good spot there. Not too much. This looks like the same distance apart here. And then my 1-inch line, and then I'm going to line up. Okay. Be up here. This is the center back, so I'm going to line, make a 90-degree angle line from the center back. My line, and then I'm gonna put my 1-inch line. So I make, oops. My waistline here, so I'm going to draw a line 1/2 inch above the waistline, and then 3/8 of an inch. So I'm going to match up this line to 3/8 right here. 1, 2, 3. My waistline, 1/2 inch. And then 3/8 of an inch from this line that I just made. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Now I'm gonna cut. do this part first. I'll cut the bottom line, the 1/2 inch line from the waist. Move it up, matching the seam line, so it'd be good. Now here, there's a little bit of a ledge there. I'm just going to tape it first and then I'm going to trim it after. Line up the seam lines, I'm just moving up to the 3/8 of an inch line that I made earlier. Line it up. Okay, the waist adjustment is done on the back pieces. Now I'm going to do the chest adjustment. Okay, I'm going to just cut the bottom line again. Doesn't matter which line you cut. Gonna trim this up. There's a bit of a ledge there. Okay, that's done. I'll do this other piece. Just wondering. I'm going to check this one to see. I might move this line. Let's see how this looks. Oh, no, that's good. If there was a big piece I had to cut off, then I was going to change where I put it, but I don't have to. It looks good. Match up the seam lines. Very good. A little bit of a ledge right there. I'm going to just give it a little trim. Okay, that's done. Now I have to lower the armhole by 1 inch. Okay, I'm going to measure it. Square right here, I'm going to line that up, mark 1 inch down. Now I'm going to take this to the window, put it underneath, match up the top corners, and this little line I made, match it up to right there, that line there, and then I'm going to draw. I think you can see this line underneath. There we go. Okay, so what I did was I just lined up this outer with the top outer, lined up the top there, lined this part up right here, and you can't really see from the camera, but this is where the piece underneath is, the outer piece. There. And then the black line is the seam line right here. I would do a neater job at the window. I can see the lines better. Just going to go straight up. There you go. Now this, I don't want this line anymore. I'm going to draw a new one here. The part where I'm going to be snipping. Excellent. The top line is the one I'm going to cut. The bottom line is the seam line. There, that's finished. Excellent. So we don't need this anymore. Okay, so this is done. Center back, center side. I've made all the adjustments. Front side, lower side, and front center, lower. We've made the adjustments there. Center front upper and center upper side. We've made the adjustments. We've lowered the armhole. So that is all done. Now I'm going to adjust the center inner support pieces to match this. Okay, so this two pieces right here, this is the center front that we adjusted already. We got rid of 1 inch on top above the bust line, and we got rid of 3/8 of an inch just right above the waist, so a total of 1 3/8 of an inch up in the front. So we have to do the same on the inner support piece. This is the waistline right here, so I'm going to, just above the waist, I'm going to draw a line 1/2 inch above, and then I'm going to draw another line 3/8 of an inch away from there. So let's do that first. So it's straight at the back here, so I'm going to just put 90 degrees from the back here. That looks pretty close. Just going to draw all the way across. That's just the waistline. I just made a waistline for me to follow. Now I'm going to draw a 1/2 inch line above the waistline first. So I'm just going to put waist here. We don't want to cut that. This is 1/2 inch above the waistline. Now I'm going to draw 3/8 of an inch from that 1/2 inch line. There. Here, now I'm going to cut the bottom line. I'm going to move it up to match that. And then above the bust, so this is the bust line there. So right above there is where we're going to get rid of 1 inch. So it doesn't really matter where here, I guess. Just draw a line there. And I'm going to draw 1 inch below that. Line up this line here. Okay. This one's going to be a little different here. So there is a big difference there, so we're going to true that up. That's the center part. So that goes towards the bust line. So we're going to true it up to this part right there. So we don't want to get rid of thickness. We just want to get rid of height. So we don't want to true it to this line there. We don't want to do that. We want to true it to this line here. So I'm going to add a piece of paper to that afterwards. I'll finish this one first. I've got some scrap paper here. I'm just gonna tape it on here. Right underneath. Okay. I'm going to take my curved, and I'm just going to go from this line right there to that line. It's going to match it up. Kind of like that. It's too curvy. I'm going to change that. This line looks pretty straight, so actually I'm going to draw a straight line. I'm looking at this. This line is not really curved. It's pretty straight, so I'm going to draw a straight line to that. There, that's better. Easy. Okay, so this here as well, I'm going to do a little piece here. It doesn't seem like a lot. I could just trim it out, but that's like 1/8. That's 1/8. So that is a lot. When you're stuffing it, I don't want to lose that, so I'm going to make sure I put that back in there. I'm going to go from right about here, I guess. Just kind of match it up. There. So there's no ledge there. It blends in nice. Okay, so this one is finished. Now we're going to do the back piece. So this is the inner back support right here. And center back right here. So these lines are gonna, this seam right here is gonna match up to this when we attach the inner support later. And this is the waistline right there, and that's the waist. And this is above the bust line right here. So we're going to decrease 1 inch up here and 3/8 of an inch here to match the changes we made on the outer piece. Waistline right there. So I'm going to draw a line 1/2 inch above the waistline, 90 degrees from this 90-degree angle from the center back, or the back piece here, the straight piece, the straight side of the back piece. Half inch right there. Now I'm going to draw 3/8 of an inch from this line. 1, 2, 3, line it up. Okay, I'm going to cut that and then move it up. And then above here, I'm just going to see where the measurements are pretty close. Parallel, 90 degrees right here. This looks good. This is about the same distance there, so draw a line there. And then draw a line, and 1 inch line below. I don't want to do it down here because it's too much of a curve. That way I don't have to do a big adjustment or add a big piece to true up the lines. Okay. Excellent. Very nice. next one we're going to trim. We don't need that. Follow the one. There we go. Okay, that's done. Now the waistline. Line up the seam lines. Very nice. Perfect. Excellent. All done. So we've decreased this piece by 1 3/8, 1 3/8, 1 inch up here, and 1 inch up here and 3/8 of an inch here. But the pipe sleeve, as long as you make the adjustment, it doesn't matter anywhere because you're only matching the end pieces. So it doesn't matter where on the pipe sleeve that you adjust, as long as it's in between these markings right here. So we'll draw a line that's 1 3/8 inch apart, and then we'll match it up. I'm going to make the adjustment up here, in between here. Still away from this marking line, because I want to maintain that marking line. That's important. Okay, parallel or 90 degrees from the end lines there. So I'm just matching up the lines. Okay. Now I'm going to draw a line that's 1 3/8 of an inch. 1 3/8, 1 inch, 1 2 3/8 right there. That's 1 inch and 3/8. So I'm going to draw a line there. Okay. Excellent. All finished. So I've adjusted the inner support pieces. I've made all the adjustments. So that's done. I'm ready to cut the fabric. Next thing. These are the back pieces. I made the adjustments and I've lowered the armhole 1 inch. Decrease above the waist 3/8 of an inch and above the bust line 1 inch. That's done. Lower front below the bust line, I've decreased 3/8 of an inch here above the waist and 3/8 of an inch above the waist between the lower bust and waistline. That's done. And above the apex, above the bust line, I decreased 1 inch there and 1 inch there, and I lowered the armhole 1 inch. So I'm ready to cut the fabric next. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up, make comments, ask questions, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you for joining me today.